right, walk through how to recover a seat. This is a seat from 2001 Polaris. This is generally pretty simple. It's kind of split down the seam there and stuff, a couple cracks in it. Not the worst seat I've seen, but recovering them makes it look a whole lot different. First thing to start, I always like using a real nice long screwdriver. Sneak it underneath the staples. Start prying up, popping this old seat cover off. All right. There's the seat cover off. Oh, fun. This one had a little mouse hole in here at one point. Just ate right through there. But the rest of the foam's in really good shape. So you can easily get seat covers on eBay and places like that. They're usually like 40 bucks and they'll kind of slip over. What I like to do is I buy the vinyl just in bulk, just in a solid sheet and kind of cut size. Nice thing about this is once you stretch it over, there's no seams or anything. In my opinion, it looks a little nicer. It looks a little bit closer to what it did originally. So this piece I've already kind of cut to size. So on the bottom side here too, I'm not really a stickler about getting every little staple out. If the staples are sticking up like this, I like to pull them out. But if they're still nice and flush down in there, I leave them in there. They're just going to get covered right back up with new staples and the new vinyl. You'll never see them. And it doesn't really affect anything. So in my opinion, I like to save the time and not pull out every single staple. Good enough for me. So I always like to start on the back first. So you just got a little bit of hangover there. About like that. This stapler I'm using, this is a little cordless stapler. It works really well. What I find with some of the mechanical staplers is they don't have enough power to get into the plastic. These are pretty good manual staple guns. They seem to have enough power. But when you do this enough, it's kind of nice to have a little cordless electric one. Or an air one would work pretty well too. But only downside of this stapler is there's a little safety release that you got to make sure it gets released so it won't shoot the staple out. Sometimes that's a little annoying to get into tight spots. So I just put two staples in there first on the back side. Oops, don't fall out. Just to kind of hold that in place first. And I always like to start from the back and then work my way forward. So the next thing I'll do, kind of smooth out over on the sides. Pull it tight, flip it over, throw a staple in there to kind of hold it in place. Pull it tight. Sometimes what I like to do too is kind of hold up on the vinyl and then take your staple gun and kind of push down in. That just helps kind of pull it even tighter and stuff and wrap around the corner. Another little handy trick is with these on the edge of the table. All these seats have some sort of little pin or something down here that latches into the body and the frame. What I like to do is kind of have that up against this edge. So slide it up there like that and kind of lock it in there, and it helps me kind of hold the thing in place for stretching and stuff like that. Kind of run to this side over here. I like to just kind of throw one staple in at a time and just slowly work way around. And some of these first staples I usually end up popping back out and kind of readjusting as the cover gets in place and you smooth out your wrinkles and everything. Also, what I find is there's a wide variety in different vinyls that you can get. I like to find the ones that are just a little more flexible. It seems to help a lot, especially on some of the seats that have a lot of contours and shape to them. So once I get a couple down the side, I like to kind of tighten this up and then throw one up in the front or two. Three of them in there. And then start working these sides. Another tip on some of the vinyls that are quite flexible is I'll use like a little steam gun. Actually, I'll just grab it quick, show you what it looks like. So this is a Conair steamer, really meant for like taking wrinkles out of stuff. I mean, it's meant more for, you know, clothes and stuff, but it works really well. Fill up with water, plug it in, we'll steam this and throws out a bunch of heat. Will really kind of make the fabric really nice and flexible. So if you got some real sharp corners or something like that to get around, it really helps everything kind of stretch. Especially if it's kind of cold in the shop, it makes a huge difference. Sometimes these last corners always take some pretty good stretching. I think I'm going to throw a staple up here for now. Hold that in place and try to work this slack down into the bottom. So my one staple popped out down here, which is fine. I said some of these need readjustment. Well, I decided to break out the steamer. These corners just being a little difficult and stuff. So this thing's pretty straightforward. It just puts out a bunch of steam. It's hot, don't burn yourself. But it really just softens up the fabric, lets you stretch it a lot more. Sometimes when you get kind of these corners like this, it makes life a little bit easier. Still got kind of a few wrinkles over here, but this should pull out once I start stretching this back on the back side again here around the last couple corners. We'll see how that turns out. Okay, so I've basically got this tacked in place kind of all the way around. So now it's time to start just really pulling the rest of the slack out, working around the rest of the corners, and any little wrinkles that are left in there should pull themselves out. We'll start kind of with this back side over here. What I like to do is pull tension and take the staple gun, kind of push down. It really just helps it suck around that corner, pull that slack out. Okay, now I've got it stapled all the way around. Seems nice and smooth. All of our wrinkles are gone. So now it's just time to trim off the excess around the edges. With the scissors. Clean this up a little bit. All right, here's the final product. Nice and simple.